Hi, and welcome to another episode of IPT2. So, for this episode, we are going to delve into the truth behind personal training. Some people like to call it the dark truth behind personal training, or whatever they want to call it, really, but it all boils down to the concepts we all think of when it comes to personal training and what life as a personal trainer really is. As somebody who's not in the industry yet, who is coming into the industry for the first time, there will be a lot of preconceived things about what personal trainers are, maybe even how much they earn. And today, I just want to kind of cover off a lot of the ins and outs, the realities, and those actual truths behind being a personal trainer. So, to kick off, I think the first thing with the truth behind personal training is that moment that you come to in your head about wanting to be a personal trainer. Now, most people who are personal trainers now understand fully that the education that you're going to get is going to be paramount to you actually being a success as a personal trainer. So before you've even taken steps into the industry, it is so key to make sure that you get the right education. Because if you don't, what can happen is you're left on your own at the end of your course with no actions to be taken, no sense of direction about what to become. And ultimately, that's what really makes a lot of personal trainers fail. So, first of all, make sure that you are picking the correct training provider. Now, we'd love that for anybody to pick us, but the reality is there's a lot of people who don't know who we are yet, and you are going to be looking really at price as one of the big obstacles. We all know that, and we all pretty much go for the cheapest we can get, the cheapest but best version of what we can get. Bear in mind that not all courses will sell you diplomas. They will package things up to make it look better than what you're actually getting. And I would say ultimately it's going to come down to the tutor that you get, the person teaching you the course, that's going to give you the best education. So, what's their background? What have they achieved in the fitness industry? What can they give you that's going to help you become the best trainer you can be? If you can't find out that information, or it's not available and you're going to get somebody random who's in your area, that's going to be troublesome because you don't know who you're getting to teach you, and they could be an absolute nobody with just a little bit of gym experience themselves. It could be somebody who's not had a personal training business themselves. They just went straight into teaching. So again, how much can they actually teach you? So this truth behind the first steps, the education part of your training, has to be paramount because it's going to lead on to what comes afterwards. And for a lot of people, what comes afterwards is going to be bitterment, resentment, a feeling of insecurity because you haven't felt like you've learned enough to be in the fitness industry. And you're going to feel like you've been hard done by if you don't get that good level of education. And that education should also set you up for the career you're going to have afterwards. So that brings us on to the next point. A lot of people, especially in the online space, social media space, they always say that, oh, you should become an online trainer, you should do this, you should do that. And ultimately, there is no correct path. There is no one thing that everybody should do because we live in different parts of the country or world. We live with different demographics in our area or chosen place that we want to work with. If we are an online coach, we look at different aspects of people who need help and support, and we try to support them. So there's no one size fits all solution to what you should do. There is some good advice though, and again, another truth of personal training: you should get good at training people in person before you think about anything different. Now, during the personal training course, they're going to ask you to think about niches, to think about a certain person or type of people that you like to train more, like maybe females, males, it may be people of older age, it may be people with certain illnesses. But the reality is, when you step foot into a commercial gym, you're probably not going to see as much of that demographic as you think, unless it's a specific gym for a specific type of demographic, i.e. if it's for females, you might go into a curves gym. If it's for people with illnesses, you might want to work with your local council if you have that qualification. So the reality is, you're actually going to end up working with a whole different type of demographic than you think. It's not to say that you should just take anybody on board, and I think that's a bad piece of advice if somebody tells you that. There is going to be cases where your personality will clash with other people's personalities, and that's going to eventually end up in you losing that client and maybe even gaining a bad reputation as a coach. So we don't want that. So always make sure you're selecting your clients based on how they fit you and how they fit your training. Will they be able to do the stuff that you're asking them to do? What kind of training ethos do you have yourself? And again, one of the big things in the fitness industry is almost like a form of bullying, which we see quite a lot. If your opinion varies from another person's, then you're seen as a bad person. You're seen as a bad trainer because you don't have the same ethos or the same ethics or the same training protocols as somebody else or another trainer. And actually, those are sometimes the things that make you stand out. I've delivered many different training sessions to many different clients over the years, and although there's going to be concepts that should fit with the majority of them, you are going to have to make things bespoke a lot of the time to get good results. So when somebody tries to belittle your system and you can back it up, then they're at fault. And that does happen in the industry. That does happen in the gym floor where other trainers will belittle trainers, and I've heard it. Unfortunately, still to this day, personal trainers a lot of the time see this world as a dog-eat-dog world. And there is enough clients for everybody. So it shouldn't be a dog-eat-dog world. And if a personal trainer is struggling to get clients, which does often happen and is a truth of the industry, it's not that they're failing as a personal trainer because their training is not great or their nutrition protocols aren't great or whatever they're saying isn't great. It's more they haven't learned how to market themselves. It's more they don't understand the industry and the actual drive and mentality you have to have when going to get clients for the first time. For the most part, a lot of people becoming personal trainers have never owned their own business before. So stepping into that domain is going to be extremely hard for somebody who doesn't understand how a business is run. So there's going to be lots of truths when we think about it with personal training. And Another big factor is, so do you work in a commercial gym? Do you work in a private gym? Do you go online? And very much the advice is learn how to coach people, be it in a private gym, be it in a commercial gym, but learn to coach people well in person before stepping foot in the online domain. This is because it gives you a grounding of how to deal with people, how to deal with clients. And even if you have worked in a service industry, a customer-facing industry before, it does not deal with the kind of hardships that you'll get from clients when you work in the personal training field. So go and actually work with people. And it's not to say that somebody couldn't be a success without that kind of background of training people in person, but it's going to make things a hell of a lot harder if you do not know how to deal with people, especially the kind of complaints, the kind of almost just things that people always complain about, price, the day they've had, how their mentality changes for the day, how they missed out on a day of nutrition, how are you going to talk to these people and help them come back around to realizations? Because if you can't do it in person, then typing a message out, sending an email is going to be 10 times harder to help sort those situations. When you're dealing with clients who have complaints or just aren't enjoying your service, how are you going to know that? Because you've not seen in person what that looks like. You learn so much from working with people that it's so paramount to being successful in person and online. And then think about, there's also the hybrid training method as well, where some of the service is online, some of it is in person. So there's very much a lot of truths to find out about what you want to do as a personal trainer. Not just the job itself, but then we look at how it is glorified that you should be an online trainer. And there's lots of adverts out there saying that we can get you high ticket sales, or come and do this, and we'll make sure that you can earn this amount of money. So let's put some of those things to bed as well, because I feel it's important that people understand this. Now, these coaching and marketing gurus in the fitness space, a lot of the time they will offer you something for free, be it a call or something like a PDF document or whatever it is for free. And bear in mind, we use this tactic as well as a training provider. We offer free webinars. We offer this podcast. We offer PDFs for our students for free, because if our free product is really good, then people will want to either advise people to train with us or advise people to buy our course. So there is thought behind giving out those things. But as a personal trainer, a lot of the time they try to grab you when you are at your absolute lowest and you're ready to spend money to maybe take you to the next level, as they might call it. When a lot of the time it's just through that first poor education that you haven't been told the realities of training in the personal training industry. So when we look at the gurus who say you can get 10k a month with high ticket sales, or you can get 10k a month added to your revenue, what they don't tell you a lot of the time is you're going to be not just giving out a monthly training system where people renew every month. A lot of the time that initial 10k month, 20k month, 100k month in some cases, you're going to be selling training programs that are maybe 3 to 6 months long. So when somebody buys that training program, you get a lump of cash, but it's going to be spread out really. So actually the cost of the training program is a lot lower than what you think that is that you've just earned. So if say you're selling a training program at £900 over 3 months, so that's going to be £300 per month, which is quite a decent amount for a training program. But once you have that £900, what personal trainers a lot of the time do is they mismanage their finance. And that money's spent, and then a few months down the line, you're like, well, what do I do now? So there has to be budgeting involved with this, which again, a lot of these gurus will not tell you, because they are looking for you to get that bottom line to be a big number so they can use you to get more people onto their course. Because they don't make money from personal training anymore. They don't make money from anything but preying on people who are in need of support. And don't get me wrong, that isn't every company that's out there that offers support. There are some genuine companies out there that will have good support and you won't have to pay a fortune for. They're more realistic in what they can get you to do. But you know, there's going to be lots of companies out there who are going to prey on you. They're preying on the things that they know you want. And that's, again, the cycle of marketing. Essentially, as a personal trainer, although I use the word prey, we are preying on people who want to lose weight. We're preying on people who want to build muscle. We're giving them what they need. And that's what these other people out there are doing to you. So if you're struggling as a personal trainer, don't go and buy a course. Initially look to see where you can get support and help. Is it going to be from your manager? Is it going to be from another personal trainer who's successful? Is it going to be from your training provider? Because sometimes, and again, we'll talk about IPT here, we offer that extra level of support after you've finished the course. Because who are you going to go to sometimes if you don't have anybody else? You should go to your training provider, the person who taught you the course, the person who's been through what you've been through, and get them to support you and give you ideas about what you can do. And when you've exhausted 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50 ideas, then you can maybe think about looking for support that costs money. Because if you initially just pay out money to get somebody to give you support, you may find that you are not going to get the support you think you were going to get. And you're going to be left with this big bill that you need to pay. And then you're probably going to see yourself doing things that isn't natural to you. And the good analogy for this is to think about when you ask somebody to do nutrition and you give them a nutrition plan. If you give somebody a plan that's not natural to what they're doing right now, currently, there's going to be pushback. There's probably going to be failure on their part to follow it. And it's going to take a lot of time to get things going. Now, when a personal trainer and their business is not doing so well and they need that quick win, a plan that's going to take a long time to settle in and eventually work is not what's needed. You need quick, immediate actions that are going to get you success. And unfortunately, with a lot of these things, you're going to get told to do things that are unnatural to you, might go against your ethics, and might take up an awful lot of your time that you don't have. So, again, it comes down to due diligence. It comes down to research. It's the same as picking your training course. You have to make sure that you are picking the right people. Again, I see so many adverts that are trying to just prey on personal trainers and their current situations. And please do not fall into that trap. That is a truth behind marketing of any kind, that they are going to be looking to prey on things that you want. So don't fall into the trap and don't let yourself be taken for a ride, because it's not going to be nice, and eventually it probably will lead to you leaving the industry. I've seen and heard a lot of things in the past good and bad about these companies. So again, it's all about doing your research, and if you need to be in a space where you get recommendations, then speak to people who have actually been on these courses, who maybe aren't currently on the course but can give you insight into the course. People who are currently doing a marketing course or something like that, where they're in these coaching services, they're probably going to look for the positives and tell you just the positives. And what we're looking for is a more balanced and normalized approach to these things. So we've kind of covered the education part of stepping into the industry and the truth behind that, the truth behind selecting what job role you should really go for to start with, and then a little bit about how the marketing side of how you're preyed on as a personal trainer can actually happen. But let's have a look at the truth behind an actual personal training business. The personal training industry and the fitness industry in total, we call this the peaks and troughs of the season. So the reality is that there are going to be times of the year when you're busier and times of the year when you're not so busy. It's the peaks and the troughs. So, for instance, everybody thinks January is this amazingly busy time to be a personal trainer, when it's not. It's actually February and March that are much better times to be a personal trainer, because in January, everybody comes to the gym for the first time, but a lot of the time they've just spent money on Christmas. They've just spent money on things that they had to do around that period of the year. So they don't have a lot of excess cash to do personal training. And obviously we're living in a cost of living crisis, so that makes it even worse. So January is actually a time where most people recoup money, but they'll pay for their gym membership because it isn't ultimately that expensive. And then February, people start to realise, I can't do this by myself. And if in January and February and March you're in the gym as a personal trainer, you're marketing yourself properly, you will become extremely busy by the time March comes. You should have a full rota of personal training clients, because you should be giving support to all these people who need the help, and then eventually they will buy your service. Then we look at April and May. Again, a couple of really solid training months, but May, we start to see people drop off. June, we start to see people drop off. July, very much a drop-off month. And sometimes August as well. But August can be a little bit of a hit or miss, because during those June, July months, that's when you're going to hit the trough. You're going to hit your peak around about March, April time. And then May, June, July, August time, you're going to go back into a trough. August, you're going to see that come back up. And then when everybody comes back from the holidays in the summer, their activities that they're doing, kids go back to school, jobs are all back, students go back, then we start to see an increase again in personal training revenue. August, September, October time, we're really hitting peak. September's probably the peak month of the year, even busier than the beginning of the year. And then we hit into November, when we start to see everything die off again. December, again, everything starts to die off. And then you hit that kind of bottom of the trough again before the peak starts to happen. So the peaks and troughs a year, it happens every year. It's something that the fitness industry just goes through. And I think when you look at most industries around the world, they have peaks and troughs throughout the year. They understand them. But if you don't understand that as a personal trainer, you can't budget properly, you can't do things properly. And they don't really teach you that as a truth, because it is the truth. It's going to be hard sometimes to get clients, and you need to be very wary of how you approach that and how you go about marketing yourself to get yourself ahead of the pack, to get yourself seen, to get yourself noticed, because as we've said so many times before on courses with IPT, if your product isn't in front of the person, they're not going to buy it. And even if it is in front of them, sometimes they won't buy it. They have to take their time to make these decisions. And if we go a little bit full circle here back to these gurus that say you can have a 10k month, how many personal training sessions or personal training blocks would you have to sell to have a 10k month? Now, the average trainer sells a month block. They don't sell 2 months or 3 months at a time. They usually sell one block at a time. And that one block can vary anywhere from £100 to maybe £200. So let's say you're getting £200 per block, that your monthly block. So how many of these blocks would you need to sell to have a 10k month? Well, to get 1k, you need 5. So that means you'd have to sell 50 blocks to have a 10k month. Now, bearing in mind that most people in the UK just now are going through hard times. So to ask people to pay more is going to be pretty much out of the question. People can't afford it. And if they can't afford your services, they're going to not purchase them. If your services become too expensive and the cost of living keeps going up, the sessions are going to be one of the first things to go. So we need to be more strategic. We need to think about what's a solution to that. And again, if you need help and support with thinking about those type of things, then come and speak to us. We will help you. We don't mind if you've been with another training provider and need help and support. We will give you help and support as much as possible. And if you like what we do, then hopefully you'll recommend us above somebody else. But that help and support, if we can give you something for free that is going to help you, then we will. It's like when you give advice to somebody who wants to weight loss. What advice you give them, if they go and implement it, it might work, but they might still need some help and support. We offer that help and support. We don't charge for it. We're not one of these marketing companies that's going to say you can get a 10k month. We just need to be more strategic about what we can actually get from our clients in terms of revenue and the service that you're offering and how that can support the clients. Can you take on 50 clients? You might be able to do it with a hybrid service or an online coaching service, but what kind of service is it going to be if you have 50 clients? Is it going to be something where you spend all day, every day trying to coach people or come up with ideas? And then there's so many other things that you need to do in normal days. So is it going to be viable? But again, if you need help and support with that, we're very much here to do that. But it is a truth. So if you want to get those 10k months, there you're looking at £200 per client. That'll get you a 10k month, you know. And then when we look at people who are getting 20 and 30k months, that's great. But you know, what kind of service are they actually giving these people? What's the turnover like with these kind of people as well? Because like most households in the UK at the moment aren't going to be able to afford like £300 and £400 a month. They don't have that kind of money to spend. Some people can't even afford £100 a month block. And again, it's very much going to come down to the area you live in, the way the economy is. Are things getting better or worse? There's going to be lots of factors that are going to be dictating your price. And we don't want to devalue the product we have, but at the same time, we have to be realistic in the price point we have so that people can actually afford to train with you. So Again, that is a big truth, and this is where you see a lot of people who go into the online space and then undercut everybody with cheap training. Now, that is your decision if you want to do that, if you want to devalue your service to the point where it's just to get people to buy, then you can do that. I've seen training programs for as low as £10 for 8 weeks. But what kind of service is that? And how many of them do you need to sell to actually make a living? So again, we need to look at our own business and how much we need per month to help actually give you a full living out of the training you've had, which again is another truth. If you haven't learned how to budget for these things, you could be left with bills unpaid. You could be left going back to another employed job, and that isn't necessarily a bad thing. And I do advocate that most of my students and the students of IPT, that they have a job and they transfer into personal training slowly, build up your clientele, and then when you have enough, you eventually transfer over so you can get some more time to get some more clients. And that all makes very much sense when you think about it. But alas, getting clients is a hard thing. It's getting even harder, like I said, with the cost of living. We need to bang on about this because as an industry, we haven't really raised our prices. But now is not the time to think about high ticket sales unless you're working in a very affluent area with people with lots of money. Otherwise, you shouldn't be looking at that. If you're working in a normal kind of area of the UK or the world, you'll understand how much normal people make, how much free cash they might actually have for your service. And then you need to make sure that your service is that good that they will part with that cash, because it's going to be even more important than ever for people to have a little bit of extra cash for a rainy day, because things are just getting that expensive. So to kind of summarise, there's a lot of truths behind personal training that they don't tell you. Like the hours you might have to put in. You know, you might have to be there first thing in the morning at 6 a.m. And you will need to be there if you want 6 a.m. clients. You shouldn't just wait to midday to try capture a 6 a.m. client, because 6 a.m. clients don't come in at midday, they come in at 6 a.m. So you might have to be there from 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. for the first few months of your career. You might have to come up with loads of different marketing ideas till one actually starts working and you can use that one. You might have to do things that you don't like doing, like covering people's shifts, doing extra classes, and just being out on the gym floor a lot more, talking to people you don't know, which is very hard for a lot of people. And bear in mind, people buy into your personality, and that's why they'll want to train with you. They very rarely will see you training people and then say, I want to train with that person, because they want to get to know you first. They want to know what you're all about before they make that final decision. Again, getting really good at consultations is going to be one of the most advantageous things to have in your arsenal, because if you can sit down with a person and really resonate with them one-on-one, even if you've never met them before, then guess what? You're going to end up with them in your service. And when you think about the online coaching service as well, because I'm sure some people will want to go down that route, how much harder is it to get rapport with somebody over a text message? How much harder is it to actually speak to somebody when it's a direct message on Instagram? You are going to find it hard, and there is strategies around it. And again, if you need those help and support strategies, let me know. We can talk it out. We're not beyond approach. We like people approaching us and asking for help and support. So make sure that you ask for that help. Don't be one of those trainers that sits in the back and wallows in self-pity, because that's what happens. I'm not getting enough clients, or I must not be good enough. People don't know how good you are because you're not spreading the word. You're sitting in the back of the club. You're doing your own training instead of speaking to people. And again, once you become an established face of a gym, you are going to find that people want to speak to you even more that you've not spoken to before. I can count probably on one hand how many training sessions I used to get without being interrupted. I personally would always be interrupted. Somebody would want a conversation about training or life or something or other. Staff would want support. Other PTs would come to me for help. And I loved that. And all of the coaches here at IPT love that. We love to give help and advice. We love to give support. And when you're on the gym floor as a personal trainer, you should love that too. You should be loving giving out support and advice, because that little piece of advice you give out might be the thing that turns somebody from wanting to train with you to actually training with you. And if it isn't, then guess what? They might go and tell somebody how good you are. So really, it's always a win-win when you're out there being yourself, being the trainer that you should become, and that's a truth of the industry. If you have a personality that people will get on with, you are going to be successful. Even if you're not in the greatest of shape, people will still be drawn to your personality more than they're going to be drawn to your physicality. If anything, sometimes, and I'm going from personal experience here, being somebody who is bigger, and I mean bigger in size, muscular-wise, tall, broad, that's off-putting for somebody to come and approach me. So a lot of the time I would have to approach other people and show them that I wasn't just this big, scary, bald, broad-shouldered guy. I was actually a very nice, knowledgeable trainer. And once that had been gotten across to the people in the gym, everybody wanted to talk to me. And again, that is something that just isn't spoke about enough. If you're considering a career in personal training, remember you have to get the personality side of it right first. And if your personality is a bit dry, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with your personality. Just if it's not an outgoing type, if you can't be outgoing, then you may struggle as a personal trainer. And if the industry was one that you could vet people before they actually did their course, which we try to do a little bit. That's why we have calls for people who are potentially interested in our course. We want to find out that we are the best fit for you, that we will give you the best education for what you're looking for. So we like to ask those questions. But one of those things is also we get to see your personality on a video call. So we get to see who you are potentially going to become as a personal trainer. And if you're not equipped with the personality, then we might have to actually say that this is not going to be a good fit and recommend somebody else who might be better. It's not to say there isn't a spot for people who have different personalities out there, but one of the most important things about the personal training industry is people by people. So getting your personality out there is going to be one of your greatest marketing tools, and getting people to see who you are in person, on social media, wherever you're going to be doing your kind of marketing to get clients, is where you need to showcase your personality. And if you're not good at that, that could be the thing that drives the nail in the coffin of your personal training career. So it is something to consider, and a truth, again, that isn't talked about enough within the personal training industry. We also need to make it very clear that to this day, most people that you're going to deal with in the personal training industry are going to want to lose weight. Now, it might not always be they want to lose 2 stone, 3 stone. It could be just a few pounds. It could be a bodybuilder who wants to get lean. It could be somebody who's already got a lot of muscle that wants to lose body fat. The type of person you're going to work with the most in the personal training industry is going to be people who want to lose weight. That's a truth of the personal training industry. 90% of people, that's what they're looking for. Be it clients or non-clients, most people who go to the gym are looking for some sort of weight loss or to look a certain way, which then requires weight loss. So, again, very much a truth. And probably the last point, because I'm getting on a little bit here with all these different truths, and I could probably go all day if I could think about different things, because these podcasts are always unplanned. They are off the cuff, and they are literally just us speaking the truth about things that we're passionate about. So the last kind of truth I want to bring up is this whole male-female divide thing that's going on in the industry just now. Whereas male trainers and female trainers seem to think that one or the other's got it better. And the reality is, nobody's got it better. And there's very good reasons for this, and let me explain a little bit. So if you're a female trainer, and that's brilliant that we've got so many good female trainers now in the industry, female trainers are going to be able to get on with females a little bit easier because they understand what happens with the female body. They understand that there's going to be certain aspects of the month that are going to change for a female. There's going to be certain mental processes that are different. There's going to be the way that they communicate that's going to be different. But also we have on the flip side that then a lot of males wouldn't want to train with a female trainer because they're female and they might not know as much as a male trainer, or they have certain preconceptions, and this is all it is. It's preconception. It's never the actual truth. The truth is a lot of female personal trainers are educated to the exact same level as male trainers and have the exact same abilities. It's just that's the perception. And there's nothing wrong with thinking that you as a female trainer only want to train with females. But there are going to be males out there who prefer training with females, who just get on better with females, and who respect the fact that they can maybe technically lift a little bit better or have certain aspects of their training that resonate better with other males. So there's no reason to think as a female that you can't train male clients. That is absolutely not true. And fair enough, if you only want to train females, that's your thing. Great. Keep with your demographic and what you're happy with. But remember, you are going to then be just working with a percentage of the people that you could potentially be working with. So that's something to think on. Then we have the flip side of it. We have male trainers, and male trainers used to work with females a lot more. And then you would get the odd males who would work with you as well. But nowadays, as I said, a lot of females would rather work with a female trainer. But there's still a lot of females who would want to work with a male trainer. So actually, nobody really has it any better than the other. It's just now there is a better market out there of female trainers. Because way back when I first started, there was maybe one female trainer to 10 male trainers. And maybe it was even worse than that, but for the gyms that I worked in, I never had as many female trainers as there was male trainers. And that was something that needed to change in the industry and has now thankfully changed. But let's also think about the kind of people we have as trainers now. We also have a very wide demographic of people who are personal trainers. We have people of all different body shapes and sizes, all different knowledge levels, all different niches. So there's going to be more options out there for the individual to pick from, which is why it seems that one side or the other has it better. Now, visually, people are going to look at a personal trainer and maybe think, well, I like females better, so I'm going to train with the female. Visually, it might be males, or maybe they have a preconception that females aren't as well educated, so they want to train with a male, or maybe it's vice versa, that's only meatheads who are personal trainers and are guys, and I want to train with a female because they'll be more knowledgeable. And really, it's just this disparity of trainers that can't get enough clients that perpetuate this cycle of, well, you're a female trainer, you've got it easy, or you're a male trainer, you've got it easy. When the case is, nobody's really got it easy. It's all of the same kind of level. So that is a truth of the industry. I hope that's been a bit more insightful for you. And really, if there's other things out there that you would like to know the truth around, we would be happy to tell you, because none of this should be secrets. But none of it is stuff that's really spoken about very well. For instance, and again, I'm going on with this podcast, when you look at personal trainers who if we look at the demographic of people who do personal training, it's majority female. You're about 80% female to 20% male who do personal training. Males typically think they know a lot more than they actually do, and this is why they don't seek help and support as much. And it's a very male thing not to seek help and support. They tend to think they can do everything by themselves, and I include myself in this. There's a lot of the time I will not reach out for support when I should. So, it is a kind of man thing. Females are usually a little bit more communicative, and they can communicate and reach out for support and are quite happy to do that. And that's why we tend to get more females doing personal training. But then when we look at the education factor of personal trainers, and this goes for males and females, being a female, they will be able to understand the body's functions a little bit better because they go through that experience. As a male, we don't have the same kind of monthly visits. We don't have any kind of childbirth. So it makes it harder sometimes for the male personal trainer to get on with a client. And this is why education is so important. If you were to do a pre- and postnatal course, male or female, it is going to be so beneficial, because if 80% of your clientele is female and they can only be in two states, which is pre or postnatal, then now you know more about training them in those kind of states. And yes, obviously there's the pregnancy part in between, but again, that's covered within that course framework. But if you understand how to train somebody who's had a child or who hasn't had a child, and the differences that are going to be there hormonally, nutritionally, mentally, physically, then you're going to be able to get more success with your clients. So a truth of the industry is, like, your education is really going to push you ahead of other people. And especially for males who don't have that kind of being able to feel what the body does, they should be educating themselves. that would be a truth for me as a personal trainer, and that's why I got educated in pre and postnatal as well. But again, I've digressed. I've went on a little bit here. I've went off in tangents, so I'm going to kind of wrap it up there. And again, if you would like a topic covered, if you'd like to come on and discuss something with us, we would love to have you. So please contact us at our Instagram, IPT Qualifications. Please comment. Please get in touch. We would love to hear what you think about the podcasts, what different podcasts you would like to hear, and we would love you to support the channel by clicking subscribe. So till next time, till the next topic or rant that we go on, I will make sure that I am fully up to date with what's going on and make sure that I can get it over to you guys in the best manner properly. And until next time, take care of yourselves and we will speak soon.